If you're insulin resistant, your chances of building muscle in the gym are pretty slim. Now, you don't have to be a type 2 diabetic to be insulin resistant. And that's the importance of this video, because what we're gonna go over are the 3 things that you can do to naturally reverse insulin resistance. But more importantly, I'm also going to discuss how you can tell if you are insulin resistant. So you're gonna wanna watch the rest of this video. What's up everyone, Eric Bowling here. In today's video, we are gonna go over the topic of insulin resistance. Now, a lot of people, when they hear this, you may instantly think of type 2 diabetes. The problem is a lot of people associate type 2 diabetes with the chronically obese. You could be mildly insulin resistant and not even know it, and you can also look somewhat athletic, but new research is showing that insulin resistance can occur in individual muscle tissue. And this is a problem because if you have lagging muscles, if you have muscles that just won't grow, or if you have some stubborn fat spots, your problem may be related to an insulin related issue. So this video is a little bit of a longer one, but I want to hold your attention and just tell you how this video is going to be broken down. I'm going to define insulin right now, and I'm also going to define what insulin resistance is. So after we define those 2 things, then I'm going to give you different tools that you can use to determine whether or not you're actually insulin resistant. And then last but not least, the last thing we'll move into are 3 natural ways that you can reverse insulin resistance and make your body hyper insulin sensitive so that all of your hard work is not going to waste. So let's first define what insulin is. Now, insulin is basically a hormone that is secreted by the pancreas to regulate and control blood sugar. But it does a lot more than that. It also acts like a traffic cop, telling nutrients where they need to go. Now, the problem is the more insulin you start to produce, usually by abusing carbohydrates or sugary type foods, the more resistant your body starts to become to insulin. So insulin resistance is when your body doesn't really respond anymore to insulin. It could do that in one of 2 ways. Either your cells aren't working in conjunction with insulin, or your body's not getting the signal to produce insulin and your blood sugar levels are staying way too high and it's not being cleared out. And that can cause a whole host of problems, eventually leading to type 2 diabetes. But now let's go into how do you know if you are insulin resistant. But one way is HbA1c, another way is testing obviously your insulin levels, and the third and final way is testing your fasting glucose levels. Now, if you get all these things tested, those are going to come back with numbers. Now, what do all these numbers mean? Well, work with your doctor and look at them, but where you want to be ideally, so what is optimal, I've listed them in the description below if you're curious what those numbers may be. All right, and more of a subjective way to tell if you're insulin resistant, take your hands, go to your subscap. So that's basically if you look at your shoulder blade, where your upper back meets that shoulder blade, take the biggest pinch of fat that you can grab. If you can grab a huge chunk of fat, more than likely you're insulin resistant. So just like in my last video, which I'll link up there on cortisol and stress, there's a lot of good research coming out that shows that storing fat in the upper back has some link to insulin. Another way to test is if you have love handles. Go ahead and take both of your hands and pinch your love handles on the side. Now, if you can grab a huge chunk, same thing, more than likely your body is not utilizing all that glucose and insulin the way that it should because you're probably eating too much, or it could be something else. So now that we kind of have that cleared up, both on what it is in definition, why it's important, and what you can also do about it to get it checked, now let's go into 3 things that you can do to naturally reverse it. Okay, so the first thing that you can do to naturally reverse insulin resistance, number 1, it's going to be to use some type of herb that is known as a glucose disposing agent. Now, there are many types of glucose disposing agents out there, and you can take these things usually with high carbohydrate meals. They will usually have something in them known as chromium. But there's also a better one that I recommend. So berberine has been shown to be very effective in lowering insulin resistance in people. And the thing is there's real research on this. I'm not just making this up. The next thing you can do is get more sleep. So studies have shown that 7 to 8 hours is the most ideal area for sleep. So if you get less than that, or if you get more than that, your chances of getting type 2 diabetes or becoming insulin resistant are a lot higher, above 20% higher. So your sleep is going to control your hormones. Sleep is the main regulator of hormones. So it makes sense that if you're not getting enough sleep, your chances of becoming insulin resistant are going to increase. Now, the third thing you can do is implement weightlifting. Now, weightlifting has been shown by lots of research to be one of the best ways out there to improve insulin sensitivity. One of the ways it does this is by promoting new muscle growth. And with muscle growth comes something known as insulin receptor sites. So on your muscle tissue, you have these little keyholes, and those are keyholes for the hormone insulin. So makes sense. The more muscle you have, the more keyholes you have. That way you have a lot of keys floating around in you, which is your insulin. They have places to insert into and to go. So that's gonna help you in reversing insulin resistance. Those are 3 easy things that you can do that have been shown by research to naturally reverse insulin resistance. Now, let's say you're doing those things. Let's say you're already weightlifting, you're already getting good sleep, and a supplement can't be the main thing that's handling it. Well, what else could be the problem? Well, like I said in the beginning, if you're not deserving your carbohydrates, then carbohydrates could be the enemy for you. So research has shown that following a lower carb, higher fat diet, such as like a ketogenic style diet, is superior to eating carbohydrates when it comes to lowering insulin. So one thing that you can do is slowly implement a ketogenic diet and get on it for 30 to 60 days. Teach your body to become a little bit more fat adapted. Get into a nutritional state of ketosis. Give your pancreas a break from producing so much insulin. And then what you're gonna start to notice if you do your blood work is that HbA1c number and your total insulin in the body should start to come down. Now, it is very important to know that there's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate outside of fiber, and you can get your fiber from your veggies. So that means because carbohydrates are a non-essential macronutrient, they need to be deserved. So if you have a lot of body fat on you, why would you want to be eating carbohydrates to use as a fuel source when you have the ultimate fuel source on your body already? But then again, you have to think, this does not apply to someone who's a super lean athlete. So let's say you have a guy who's 9 to 10% body fat, doesn't have any fat on their body. Obviously, they're gonna be a person who needs some type of carbohydrates to give them the energy that they need to do the work they're trying to do. This person doesn't have a lot of fat on their body to burn for energy. But if you're obese, if you're fat, if you have a lot of fat on your body, look, you got a lot of stored and potential energy on your body. The problem is there's something known as hormone-sensitive lipase. And this is basically a hormone, not to get too scientific and not to get too technical on what it actually is, I'll save that for another video, but basically what it is it prevents your body from burning the fat cells for energy because it says, hey, I'm getting carbohydrates, those are turning into glucose, that's turning into glycogen, so I don't need to burn the fat on my body because I have a fuel source that is being given to me from an exogenous source, aka carbohydrates. This is very important because a lot of people who are struggling with weight loss issues are struggling because they're trying to follow a high carbohydrate diet because they think they need to get their energy from carbohydrates, but they got all this body fat on them that they're not burning, that they're not utilizing. So that's kind of like a fourth little bonus tip. Implement a ketogenic style diet to become more insulin sensitive. So what I want you to do is I want you to implement those tips. I guarantee if you implement them, you're gonna start to see a drastic change. But remember, it all starts with the blood work. I always tell people, you need to know what it looks like inside your body. A lot of people step on a scale and that gives them a number. What does that number tell you? It doesn't tell you much. It's not telling you how much fat you have. It's not telling you how much muscle you have. It's not telling you what your blood work looks like. It's not telling you if you're healthy or not. So you can't just look at the scale, get some blood work done. I've listed a full panel that you can get done so you can give that to your doctor and have some of those tests run. If you don't have a practitioner to do that work, I've listed something that you can click on. Basically, they send you blood work and then you can basically go and take it to a third-party lab, get that drawn, and then go mail it back and send it out. You can do it any way, it doesn't matter. The point is get it done so you know what's actually going on in your body, because if you're dedicated to changing your physique, getting the best physique ever, not only looking good but feeling good, then you need to know what's going on inside your body. And an insulin resistant type issue may be the #1 thing that's holding you back. So look, if you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. Make sure to subscribe for more content like this. But also when you subscribe, make sure to hit that little bell icon so you get notified when more videos like this come out. And if this video helped you, or if it helps you in the long run, make sure you come back and leave a comment so I know that it was helpful to you. And until then, I will see you guys next time.